Hello, welcome, beauties, to my first, but probably one of many lives. So, thank you for joining. It feels like we're gathering of the councils and your patience with me. Hey, Rosa, thanks for getting your questions in. Y'all, I feel like I just went from an Android to an Apple as I'm learning YouTube. So, thank you for my patience as I work with all of this. And I have a list of questions that I'm going to be working through as well for people who cannot make the live. And feel free to submit yours here if you're ready to drop into this field. So again, I'm Hannah Saunders, psychic medium channel, whatever you want to name these things that we have, these gifts and abilities. I'm going to be tapping into my high self, into my guides. You'll see me kind of on and off, closing my eyes as I tune in to a higher field to really reach clearer wisdom. Our world right now is moving through a lot of chaos, static, and it feels a little clunky. And so it feels really helpful to be able to channel up higher, kind of above the sandstorms that I feel right now, to really tap into what do we need? What do we need to really kick off this epic year of 2025? And I really feel like the next 3 years. So throughout this time we have today, I have a lot of questions to actually move through. I'm really excited. You guys are awesome. Thank you for sharing some pretty epic questions. And for me just to kind of be a vessel for wisdom to move through. So today, really inviting you all to sit, to get comfortable, to lay down as you kind of listen to me speak and as you're kind of in this field with us together. The thing that I always say before I start a session with someone is when our physical bodies feel comfortable, when they feel safe, it's easier to receive energetically. And even though today I'm speaking, these words also come with energetic codes, which we can also call activations. So again, if you're cozy, if you feel good, stop, go get your water. Your body is going to be more of like a marshmallow receptive mode to really receive some of these higher level frequencies that we'll be moving through this field together. So please feel free to share any questions you have, anything that sparks up, anything that resonates. Feel free to throw it into the chat, and we are in this together. So again, thank you for coming with me on this maiden voyage of my YouTube era. All right, let's get to the goodies. And also, if you know me, you know I cuss a lot. So if you have kids in the room, I will try to be a bit more dialed in with some of my cussing, but I just want to put that preface out there in case you have young ears listening in the background as well. Sometimes the way I just channel gets a little rowdy. All right, so I'm just going to take a moment here to just take a deeper breath to kind of get a bit closer, deeper connected to myself so I can really channel in, inviting everyone as well just to take, we're going to do maybe just a minute to really ground into the field that I'm about to tap into together, so we can work together through all of this. So welcome to the Sunday, everybody. If it feels comfortable for you, just to take a quick moment here, everything is a little wild recently, to just close your eyes. Just close your eyes for a sweet moment. Just really feeling where your feet are. Are they cold? Are they warm? What are they connected to? When we bring awareness down into our feet, it immediately helps us become more grounded. It's not just some basic cue that a lot of people give, where are your feet? There's actually a lot of reason. So just bringing awareness to your feet. Taking a deep breath into the heart chakra, that center space in your sternum. And letting out that week. Last week, anything you're feeling, getting prepared for this week. We're going to do 2 more breaths here, taking a deep breath in through the body. Filling up. Letting go, letting go, letting go, letting go. 1 more. Deep inhale. From belly all the way up to the chest. And audibly exhaling that baby out. And the last invitation here is really allowing your body to get a little shimmy or a little shake. You know, whether your hands want to do a little flippy floppy, if you want to do a little twerk for, here for a moment, allowing the body to wiggle. I don't think we allow our bodies to wiggle in ways that they sometimes want to. So just here for a moment. Landing here, landing here. Great. You all look a bit more grounded. I can see everyone who's joining. It's like we have a beautiful, it's like a knight's round table, but a galactic council of pretty epic souls here with me. Thank you. All right. And my guys are saying it's go time, babies. Let's dive into this. All right. So I'm going to respond to the first question here from Rosa. Thank you for answering this. Any suggestions on how to discern an invitation nudge from your higher self versus fear driven idea? Someone else also asked this question. It is so, it is the question. Is it intuition? Is it this nudge? Or is it my fear of being like, oh, no, you shouldn't do that? So let's tap in to what they say invitation nudge from your higher self versus fear driven idea. The thing that I feel with this is it comes from the heart. And it sounds a little cliche, but kind of bear with me right now. Even doing YouTube, this, it's funny because I don't really have not used YouTube until my guys were like, it's time, Hannah. It's time, Hannah. It's time to move from Instagram to a different platform. For me, I'm using this gesture because I could feel it from my heart. Like, yes, like even if this is a little uncomfortable because it's new for me, it's a bit on my edge, like I can just feel it deep, deep in my heart. Like I just know it. Like there's just such this deep knowing versus the fear-driven idea. It's something where you can almost tune in and you can feel a little bit of like a buzz or more of the energy up. And this is why I do so much like body awareness practice with people learning psychic skills or intuitive skills is first, how are you aware of your physical body? But just kind of get to like the breadth of the question here is if you're feeling maybe a nudge and you're like, is this nudge or is this a fear? Maybe it's about launching a business, maybe it's about doing a new project, maybe, it's something. Can you take a moment and just kind of closing your eyes? Taking a couple breaths in with that moment. And you can ask yourself, where is this coming from? And there's going to be a direction, either up or down. Everyone's going to be different, but this is just kind of generalized what I'm hearing from the guides. If you immediately feel like a kind of a deeper settling here, it doesn't mean it has to be fucking comfortable. Sorry, it doesn't mean I have to be comfortable. But can you feel it here? Versus like, oh, I should launch this, I should do this, whatever. Do you hear how kind of my voice upticks? I go up in a level because there's more anxiousness, there's more fear. There is such a subtlety. And again, this is like one of the biggest things I'm passionate about is like being able to listen to the subtle. And again, we do it by, can we listen to our physical body cues? Can I listen to the rain outside my door? When we allow ourselves to tune into things that are already physically happening around us, how do my feet feel in these socks today? When you build up kind of like subtle awareness, it makes it a bit easier to say, is this in my heart? Do I feel a bit more grounded with this? Or am I automatically kind of going up and being like, but I need to get this out. I need to get this out. I need to keep up. Like, oh, I should launch this. Like there's such a different energy. And sometimes when you're so in it, kind of like, which way, it can be hard to discern. Is it fear? Is it intuition? And to really ask yourself, okay, can I slow down here? Take a breath. And maybe you don't feel that first answer right away. That's okay. Come back to it, maybe 30 minutes later. Where is this coming from? Where is this coming from? And the thing that feels important when I hear it and see it from my guides is when you ask that question, drop a little like seed of awareness, almost like you could visualize light right now. You can do it with me. It's almost like you can visualize this awareness trickling down into your heart center. It's almost like you got a rotating little seed of light here. This is where your awareness is going to focus in. The heart field is cleaner and pure. So when you drop into your heart center, you're dropping into a different field versus the mind field, which is chaotic, static, and not always clean and clear answers. So when you bring your awareness down into the heart and you ask, where is this coming from? Where is this coming from? Maybe you feel a deeper resonance here. Or maybe you're like, oh, yeah, that's up here. So I hope that answers to some degree of discerning, is this fear-based? Am I trying to keep up with society? Do I feel like this is a thing I should be doing because it makes sense, but actually it's not really like in deeper alignment with my goal, with like my path here? Or is this actually like, oh, actually, this is where I need to go? So the biggest thing when I feel like it, my body is going to feel a bit more grounded, a bit more settled versus like a bit more anxious. So that's personally how I feel it. Again, 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 the biggest thing that I think is going to help with discernment in general is beginning to be aware of your own physical body experiences, the kind of subtle awareness around you. Do I feel the sun on my face? Do I feel the rain against my face? Every single time y'all tune into a subtle experience, a subtle sense in your reality, that is adding a marble to the jar for your intuition to grow of like, oh, there's a sense. You're going to be able to read between the lines a lot clearer. So a lot of times when people ask about psychic shit, I say, hey, go simple, go back to the physical body. So I hope that feels good. I might add on later to that question as well. But I feel like for you, Rosa, specifically, I feel like there's something that's really calling you forward, for your heart. So I'm just getting a general sense of, I think you're ready for whatever it is. But all right, let's see what other questions. Okay, so I have another question here that says, and this is pretty apt, especially for today. With everything changing in the world so fast in ways that are unprecedented, how do you keep grounded day to day? Honestly, y'all, this is the number one that I'm feeling like so important for the next 2 to 3 months for all of us. Everyone is becoming more psychic. All the star seeds, all the light workers, like so many of us are receiving activations, we're being called to do our missions. Like those higher things are already going to be happening. The number one thing we can do for our human body, for our experience here, and to stay on our path is to focus on grounding. To focus on grounding. So, so important. And so for me, like, how do I stay grounded? I feel like more than usual, especially I'm focusing on my work life balance, like really, really making time, taking my dog for a walk, going to the gym. Physical movement is so, so wildly important for me. And I'm reading that like more and more important for my clients of, hey, how are you moving your body? How are you engaging with your body? Again, when you are moving your body, not just out of monotony and like, I need to get my ripped six pack abs and whatever, when you're bringing more intentionality, because all of you that are listening are becoming more conscious. When you're dropping into, say, yoga or stretching, and you're like really with your body as it's stretching, as it's moving, you immediately are becoming more grounded. You're immediately being able to tune a bit more deeper into your own body awareness. And it's going to help you and your body to receive the activations that are coming through to be able to stay grounded into the storm. So, honestly, nature, number one, obviously for staying grounded, but also number two is the physical movement. And there's two more I'm going to say is food. And I'm seeing this more and more people. As our vibrations raise, our bodies are wanting different food, cleaner food, maybe simpler food. There feels like a deep need right now as there's kind of this huge rupture moving through our earth plane for people to ground. And when you bring, again, not just like, oh, I gotta cook another meal for me or my family, but it's like, hey, like, let me turn that candle on. Like, let me go put a little music on. Again, it's kind of annoying, but also amazing. When we become more high conscious and higher vibrational beings, we kind of have a higher responsibility to ourselves and to the world. And so if I'm taking more time with my partner to cook, to slow down, maybe to involve your kids, it's creating such this like infusion into whatever you're cooking. It doesn't have to be the purest of organic, but it's like that love that you're bringing, the intentionality you're bringing is really helping to literally raise the vibration of what you're going to eat. And then to be able to help fuel the body, thus be able to ground the body. So I'm seeing this again and again and again. How are you guys slowing down, really cooking, really involving your people? Because again, bonds are like, it's really tight, it's really tense right now for everyone. So make the kitchen fun again, make it romantic again, like really get out of the monotony of gotta do these things to fuel this physical body. Like, how do you make it special? And that is really going to help you ground. Of course, there can be all these cool energetic grounding techniques you can do, but honestly, like, keep it simple. Your bodies know what they need to do. You are becoming more psychic, but can you give yourself the opportunity? So, nature, physical movement, cooking, really good food. The last thing I'm also saying is um, downshifting time. Like me pulling away from Instagram has actually been a really interesting experiment and reflection of like, wow, us as humans, we wake up, we're checking emails, we're in the day, we're working with kids, like we have our kids, we have Instagram, like we're always on. We're always on. And like since I've taken a step back from Instagram, I've just realized like, where is that time for us to actually downshift our nervous systems, especially for what is happening on social media platforms? It is so much for our bodies to process. And it is harder and harder because your body's processing so much to really ground. So the invitation here is just how are you carving out maybe a bit more time to step away, to read a book? How do you create downshift times? And to be radically honest with yourselves of where in my life can I do that? So I'm not saying everyone needs to get off Instagram, but it's just those kind of things, what feels supportive. Okay. So grounding, number one. All of you guys are becoming psychic. Great. It's gonna fucking happen. But the biggest thing is can you just keep yourself grounded, especially over the next 2 to 3 months? So grounding is the number one thing I'm voting for and seeing for everyone who is super high level star seeds, like everyone listening. Beautiful question. Mhm. This is a very good question and something that I worked through today to show up here. Okay, do you have any strategies, approach, experience, or wisdom you could share with us around fears of being seen, leading a group, being the center of attention for those of us who are new to these roles? Is it a case of just feeling the fear and doing it anyway, or waiting it till it feels natural? What has been your experience when leading into your edges? Y'all, this is again one of the top things I see as kind of a crux point for people launching a business, people opening up to their psychic gifts or their natural gifts of why they're here on earth again. Why are we here? There's such this wild block that people like, there's so much fear of being seen. There is so much that can be in our bodies. Do we have another dimension, or people call past life, where you were in your power? Say you're an oracle in Egypt, but maybe you misstepped out of your power, then you got isolated and ostracized. So then you carry that into this dimension, and like, wow, how scary. Or, maybe you're in another lifetime and you were in your power and people wouldn't accept you. Like there's so many dimensions, there's so many things our soul has experienced with what does it feel like, what happens when I'm in my power. Do I get isolated? Do I get punished? Does my ancestral line, especially for women, carry that pain and suffering? So it's something that is actually a huge block. It's not just you in this life of I'm scared to step up and it feels scary. Like it is a massive thing, but it is not impossible. And I'm going to talk about that, but I just really want to name, especially as women, especially as people who are here as star seeds, light workers, new leaders, everyone I work with are in that category. So to really sense like this is actually something you've come into this life to really help face and to clear for yourself, possibly for your ancestral line and like the other dimensions, you have been a part of. So honestly, it is a huge thing. And to even ask that question is incredible. The thing for me with this around being seen is the way from my experience is like it's kind of I've taken a step by step by step. I think so many people get stuck in I want to launch a business, for example. Someone wants to launch a business, maybe they do Reiki or something. And it's like, oh, wow, it's like I feel so far from okay, I've done my training, but it feels like a lot to build a website, to tell the world, to build up a practice. Like it almost feels like it's too far apart. And I think the most important thing is taking steps because sometimes people, high level star seeds, high level souls, kind of come in with wanting to do things well, wanting to do things right, wanting to serve people in the best ways they can. And there's so much pressure and expectations we can put upon ourselves because we just want to like we come in with so many gifts and healing capabilities, and it's like sometimes we can get in our own goddamn ways. And I feel like just for me and speaking to my experiences, when I was training in an academy intensely for 2 years, we couldn't, launch a website. We couldn't read other people outside of the school. I was practicing all the time with people in the school, people they brought into the school. It was a pretty hell container for 2 years. And then once I graduated, I was like, "Oh, great. Immediately, I'm gonna launch my website, and I'm gonna be ready." And as soon as I graduated, I was just like, "Oh my god." It took me 6 months to even create and launch my website. So I think to just honor, 1, the fact that the fear is real, like, that feeling, the apprehension is very real. 2, it's okay to take time. And I think 3, to really begin to take the steps. So for me, just beginning to offer readings to my friends, free free readings to people, and just to begin to practice who people who weren't psychic, and just to kind of build up that practice of what does it feel like. And the other example too is like leading meditation. Like this is, I think, yes, psychic, but I also, one of the big things that I'm here to do is help activate people, and it is through meditation. And the way that this actually came to be was my guides. It was during the Maui fires, and I had this feeling of like wanting to host meditations, wanting to do these things, but it just felt scary. But when these fires came, I'm like, oh, I could offer this, and I could just raise money, and it could be, this other part of service. And for some reason, having this be for like another reason, like this can be of support, it made me have to really level up of like, okay, there's a bigger cause on the line, and I'm gonna put myself out there because it kind of helps cut the ego or whatever that fear is. So maybe, can you do something like that? Like just do it for donation, we're raising money, and there's good feels. So I did a couple of those meditations. I built up my confidence of like, oh, this is how it feels to lead a meditation. And then just started offering them, and now it's a pretty integral part of my work. And the other example too is kind of me taking my own steps is using Instagram. Instagram for me, I remember the first nudge I felt from my heart of my guys being like, "Hey, you need to go live on Instagram." And I was so nervous, and I was like, "No, I don't want to go live on Instagram." But I felt that pull, and I was like, "Fuck, okay." And so, I just, went live, whatever I was, think maybe channeling about a Lionsgate opening or something. But me going live there and kind of just feeling how it felt to just go live, do these things, kind of had helped build up my confidence. And I think it's just step after step. I'm sure, further down my path, maybe I'll speaking on stages and leading bigger retreats, but it's like in my own personal path, it's felt good to be pulled to these nudges, even if every nudge has felt uncomfortable. But it's like, how can I begin to bridge the gap? So I hope that helps of just really, where are those small steps you can take? Make a business card, tell a friend, offer free readings, offer free services, post one thing on Instagram. Like, can you ask yourself, where can I literally start today? Where can I start today? What would that even look like? What does one step look like? And you were all very intuitive. So I post that question of what does one step look like? And your heart will tell you. So start small, everyone. Small, but every step will be big. That's for sure. And some people are different. Some people are like come out of the womb being like, hell yeah, let's go. Most people I work with, that's not the case. So yeah, building it up over time. Thank you for that question. Let's see. Okay. This is a good question. Thank you for this one. Collectively, what do you see is in store for us this year as light workers, healers, guides, etc.? What are we really being called to focus on and bring attention to in 2025? That's a great question. What do you see in store for us for light workers? This is the year. This is the year of opening for everybody. This is truly what your souls have been preparing to do across dimensions, across this incarnation. Like, not to put pressure on it for people, not to put high expectations, but like this is the year that we have been waiting for. And it's very exciting because I think more than any other years, most people I'm going to be talking to here, I think have lived through many tough initiations through your life. Whatever it's been, I think you have really moved through some tough things. I mean, yes, we all have. But I really feel like your soul has been preparing for this very moment of humanity's history, of moving into great ruptures, great dismantling of humanity so we can rebuild in a more humane, unified way. So honestly, for us, I think this is the year people are going to step into their businesses, they're going to step into their projects, they're going to step into their collaborations, they're going to step into relationships, they're going to step into that new home they've been visioning. All these bigger manifestations that I feel like everyone's been like maybe noodling on for the last 2 to 3 years, maybe even more. Like this really feels like the year, like it's beginning to, if it's not going to come into full fruition, at least you're going to have like the foundation and begin to see the seeds of it. So for me, it is really exciting because for Star Seeds guys, everyone who's listening to right now, like this is a year that I think you'll actually feel a bit more reprieve, maybe in your body. Maybe, personally, like me, have a lot of chronic health issues. I have a feeling like I'm actually gonna have a bit more reprieve. Like I think there's ways that, it's gonna be a bit of a crux because I think all of you are used to suffering, pain, chaos, taking on everyone's shit. I think this is actually the year when you're being asked to kind of let go and you may actually be experiencing a bit more peace within yourself to be a beacon for the others while people are kind of moving through awakenings. So personally, I feel like it's a really big year. And I think that other last question of like stepping into the light, stepping into your role, stepping into your voice, stepping into your leadership is pretty on point because I think that's what you're being matched to do. Because this is a year when we're kind of like, great, let's go. Where do I begin? What is that first step? And honestly, for the timelines, I do feel like we're kind of in a build up towards March. I feel like a lot of people are it's kind of still settling from the January activations and ruptures. You may kind of be in a slow ramp up. Even for me, working with YouTube and doing new things for my business, I'm beginning to do it. I can feel it's all warming up, but I really feel like by March for people, it's like you're going to begin to get more into that flow and that cadence of like, oh yeah, this is kind of things where I'm moving towards. So kind of give yourself a little bit of patience as your body's healing, grounding a bit more deeper to then prepare you to really be able to receive and widen out to whatever insights, downloads, epiphanies, guidance that are going to be coming. So that is also why it's so freaking important to kind of be, not kind of, to be grounded, especially in the next month or so. We are preparing our vessels to receive the next steps for our missions, for our purpose. So there's that. The second part of that question, yeah, what are we really being called to focus on and bring attention to for this year? There's a few things that I hear with this one. And the number one thing I hear is community. Community, especially local community. Like our world, our system, like everything is going to be tested and glitch in some ways. And I think it's kind of these early visions I saw, these like temples of light, these cities of lights that are going to be and already beginning to be built, whether they're already over a portal site or there's an ancient portal that we are all going to help open. And I think there is something that feels wildly fortified and sustainable when we build up our local communities. Our governments are kind of the higher ups. There's just so much turbulence there. And honestly, the change that I see happening for the next 3 to 5 years is kind of like the big push. We're doing a lot of bulldozing, which will then lead into the next 15-year cycle. Honestly, it's the ground up. And this is why I think more than ever, people have to be really, really conscious of, am I taking care of my body? Am I grounded? What is my self-care? Because to build ground up is not easy. And it is why we need community and people. So even me, I've moved to this town 6 months ago, 7 months ago, and I've been a little bit of a hermit as I've been, moving through other things. But now more than ever, I'm really feeling this like deep call of like, Hannah, you have to get yourself out there, start going to yoga classes, start hosting gatherings, whether it's free or whatever. I think more than anything, when we help and we bring attention and focus to our local communities, helping to awaken and activate people who maybe would be, scared or intimidated to go to retreat. Like, how do you just say, hey, like, let's host a brunch? Like, hey, let's just gather. Like, you don't have to be so outwardly spiritual. Like, let's have a crystal gathering, which maybe you will, and it'll be amazing. But it's like, how do we just gather as people and like remember the humanity of each other? And I feel like there's a lot of people that are about to be awakened. And I think a lot of these people will have no idea where to freaking start, where to freaking go. And when there's these just open spaces, like, hey, let's have some tea. You psychically are helping to change and shift the field where it's really comfortable. People may just come for brunch or tea, but it's actually like, oh, it feels so warm and cozy. And somehow people are just able to be more vulnerable and open. And they leave from that gathering, even though you didn't have to talk about anything specifically spiritual. But it's like, wow, I feel so met and held. And the more and more our local community and more these people that maybe, wouldn't know what the hell an amethyst is, feel seen and held, I think the more our world is going to tip. And I feel like right now there's almost like we're kind of like it's like vying for the light. It's almost like we're picking dodgeball teams right now. And I really feel like there's a sense of like really supporting people of like coming into their own light, coming into community, feeling held and not getting bogged down in isolation and fear that maybe they would feel. So honestly, more than anything, of course, do your witchy gatherings, of course, do your epic gatherings. Like that is going to be needed for the high level souls that are aching to feel at home. So please, please, please help focus on local gatherings and whatever that looks like. That to me, number one, local community. Um, and there was more thing to focus and bring attention to in 2025. Yeah. We're going to do this one really quickly, but the thing is like steadfast joy. And I think as more and more of our world kind of, even in the last couple weeks, it's a lot of fear. There's a lot of chaos. And honestly, that chaos kind of fuels these other powers of B. And I think nothing, how I see it is like when you're really freaking dedicated and committed of like, okay, how am I going to feel good in my body this week? What can I do to either spend time, energy, resources on myself to feel joy? And I said steadfast joy because it does feel like we have to be a hell of a lot more committed to like, okay, how am I feeling good in my body? How am I going to be experiencing joy this week? And it can be, it's not that saying like spiritual bypassing because there's a lot of shit that's going to be happening, already is happening, a lot of suffering in our world. But if no one is holding the frequency of joy, of light, where the hell do we go? So more than ever, it's not to ignore or to negate what is happening right outside our damn doors, but it is more than ever a sacred responsibility for all of us to commit double, triple time. Where am I experiencing joy? Because joy is one of the cleanest, clearest, highest vibrational energies. It's not just something that I freaking talk about because it's fucking fun. It is so important. And it's something that I'm speaking to myself and all of you pretty sternly because like we have to get really honest with ourselves because you're so used to taking care of everyone else the fuck around you. That shit is not going to work anymore. You have to be in your joy. You have to be in a higher vibration. Not all the time, but where in your life can you commit a little bit more? You naturally are going to become a beacon of light that is going to support everyone around you. And it's going to give people that glimpse, that glimmer of hope of what else is possible. So it is wildly, wildly important. Community, steadfast joy for 2025. Great question. Let's see, Patty here. With the political climate in mind, can you speak to being a spiritual warrior versus peacemaker? Let me see what that means. All right, I'm just gonna drop into this one. Yeah. What I hear from my guides is like, it's like one and the same, but also neither really matters. Like You are just are. And I think that's that sense of spiritual warrior. Like, how am I kind of cutting through the shit? How am I really like maybe me getting to the front grounds? And Patty, please correct me if I'm not fully going to answer the question to what you're meaning to versus maybe peacemaker, which is like, let me be on the sidelines. Let me just kind of see these things happening. Like, I think it's just this thing of like, what is your heart speaking to? And it's one of those things I feel like kind of like a flow boy from Hawaii. Like, we don't need labels. We don't need labels. But I feel like there's this thing with this. It's like the way that I'm personally experiencing this and that I've kind of felt things since I think June or July, I kind of felt everything kind of click into place is I personally feel like I'm in my like kind of a deeper dedication and commitment to my work. Anytime my partner tells me something about the news, something that's happening, I'm like, okay, great. I can hear that. I can experience it. But then I feel this like double down and committing in myself. Like, okay, what I need to do today for myself, what I need to do today for my business. And I think there's this thing of like, everyone is going to be called to do what they need to do. There are people who are going to be meditating in the mountains right now, who are literally changing the energetic grids of our plane. You know, maybe they're holding a bit more of that peace, that unity in a specific way. There's going to be other people who are a teacher at an elementary school and they're showing up and it's like they're holding that frequency of whatever they need to do to support these kids. You know, and I think it's that sense of like, it's like we're not here to fight. We're not here to fight. And we're not here to sit on the sidelines either. We're here to move from our heart. And everyone that I see, it's like when you move from your heart, you can literally melt the ice that is like layering on, layering on, layering on right now. And I think more so than ever, it's just like I've never felt this in my body of such a dedication, head down fucking commitment to what do I need to do to not only feel supported and held in my body, but then how can I also say those things that maybe I've been putting off because I've been nervous or not feeling ready. But it's like, no, this is the year. And how do I make it happen? So maybe there's a little bit of a spiritual warrior because you're like, I'm rising up to these calls and these things. But again, like, we're not here to fight. We're not here to fight anything. Fighting to fight. It's like what I always say, it's like instead of fighting fire with fire, you have to go higher. And I just feel like more than ever, it's like this time to truly like, okay, what do I need to do? What do I need to do? And to not get caught up. It's like I don't listen to the news, not because I don't want to see what's happening. I can feel what's happening. But it's almost like I can get caught into the energetic vortex of the fear that's being spit out of all these things. And I'm actually being pulled away from the thing that can actually help change and shift this, which is my energy, my frequency, and my work. So I think it's that thing where it's just like we have to move from our hearts. And it's whether you're literally taking a breath every day into that heart and really like helping to stay in connection. What can I do? And the last thing I want to say with this, because I see this all the freaking time, and honestly, it's a little frustrating, but I'm also really passionate about teaching about it, is that thing that people are like, I need to do something big to like save, change, shift the world. Like that shit is over. Like, of course, some of us are encoded to speak on a stage or do an invention or be something that's really recognizable. But honestly, our world is shifting to the subtle. And it's like the ways that you're walking through the grocery store, you walk through your town. Maybe you've already done yoga that day, you've eaten really well, you feel support in your body. You're going to be emanating out a higher frequency. And that for me is like the thing that is going to create the greatest changes. That shit cannot be freaking touched. Is the energy. Is the energy. So please, please, please do not undermine what it is to just be who you are and to move through the world and not have to like, let me be this oracle that everyone can see or let me, do this whatever wild spiritual gift. Of course, everyone may have those different degrees and flex it, yes, but do not undermine your everydayness and how you show up to the world. And again, that subtle energy cannot be touched. So please flex there. Wonderful, Patty. You're welcome. Geo dude, what's your opinion regarding the use of psychedelics or plant medicine to augment spiritual development? Very great question. Very great question. And honestly, I have pretty strong opinions about this. And it's all right, where do I want to go with this one? It can be helpful, sure, sure. At the beginning of my kind of psychic awakenings, I would maybe lightly dabble with, maybe some light psychedelics. Very small though. And I would always do it by myself. I'd always do it in the woods and I'd always just journal. But it's funny because I did the last time I was in Costa Rica doing a plant medicine retreat. I don't even know that 2 years ago. And after that retreat, I was just like, I'm done. Like this, like me personally, I think there's really something important about, again, listening to the subtle. I think psychedelics, and again, everyone's gonna be different, and I'm not a doctor, so all those things, I don't think it's necessary. I don't think it's necessary, honestly. I think it can be helpful, maybe if you're start or, you've hit a certain block. But I think sometimes, especially with the ways that the world and the collective is moving, like the veils are already thinning. It is actually easier in ways to tap in than it has been ever before. And sometimes I feel like there can be such this like giving the power over to these plant medicines of these are the things that are bringing me to the holy and to the divine. And these are the things, it's not me. It's these things that are bringing me to these visions. These things are the things that allow me to see. It's these things that bring me to these prophecies and epiphanies. And wow, it's these things. And I see, everyone can be different with it, but I see kind of again and again, such this like, it is outside of me that is bringing me to the divine and to the connection. When I'm like, I'm like, it's you. And so a lot of times people I've worked with, it's that sense of like, when I'm like, hey, what would it look like to take a walk, to connect in a different way? And people have fear of like, well, if I don't do the medicine, can I not connect? And for me, that makes me a little bit nervous that, everyone's got to have their learning process with this. But I personally think, again, sure, it can augment spiritual experience, but sometimes personally, I think it can be a cop out. And I think it's one of those things where humans are like, I have a headache, let me take Advil, versus I have a headache, let me put some peppermint on me. Like we want that immediate, bigger effect, generalizing it. And I think there's something wildly important for people to learn how to like, okay, how do I learn to just be aware of my body? Okay, well, I'm aware of my body. Okay, maybe I can drop deeper into my breath if I go into meditation. Okay, when I'm able to drop in deeper, because wow, my body feels safe because I've actually just been focusing on my physical experience the last 4 weeks. Holy moly, my clairvoyance is already kicking in. Okay, wow. Okay, what does that feel like? So for me, I think there's really something to be said about allowing yourself to build up your subtle awareness again from how you physically experience things and then how that allows your body to naturally open up and to be able to then just click in. I can be at freaking Target. I can close my eyes and just like, okay, tap in. Versus if I'm relying, I'm not saying this for everyone, but if you're kind of relying on an external thing to do this for you, where's your empowerment with that personally? So, do what feels good. And everyone is encoded differently. There are some people here that are really encoded to work with plant medicines, and that is their thing for sure. But, speaking from my own experience, I'm a huge advocate for like, where is your empowerment, you know? So, yay and nay. Great question. And I think a lot of people can resonate with that one. So I think, give yourself a chance and tune in today. All right, got a couple other questions here. And I'll probably just speak for another 15 or 20 minutes. Yes. This is, yeah, I think a lot of people resonate too. How do we find places of rest in the midst of parenting, hectic schedules, other constraints? In seasons when rest feels out of reach, what are some tangible small ways to lean into rest? I'm not a parent myself. I do have a dog now, OC, who's waiting outside the door. But I do work with a lot of people who are parents. So bless you, because that is not easy, and it's truly incredible to bring another being into the earth plane. So again, just first foremost, bless you all who are parents out there or caretake other people. Let's see what the guides say about this one. They're so cheeky sometimes. What I hear from them, they're saying there's always time for you. How do you make it? And that's the thing that is really annoying to hear, I think, for the 3D bodies. I'm going to have them expand upon this. The thing with this is that sense of like thinking linearly, and it's like, I think as so much of what we're conditioned to do, get things done, we're moving in this way. You all that I'm speaking to are very highly creative, very resourceful, very resourceful, but also have trouble, challenge, struggle of asking for support. And I think this is a nudge that is going to support all of you in your own leaderships, your own business and whatnot, because this thing with parenting, hectic schedules, other constraints is I've been getting radically honest with ourselves, and I've had to do it again and again and again, growing my business and having a dog that requires a bit more attention and structure. Is to really get honest of like what actually needs to get done today. Can I waterfall it to tomorrow? And I think that is number one, the biggest thing is that question of what actually needs to get done today. Looking at your 10 to 15 to-do lists, things that need to get done, what are the top 3? And really looking at that. The other thing is for support. And I think that's a big thing that I personally have experienced, just having OC, my dog, and with my partner, and just kind of in a bigger push right now with my business as I've started the next 12-week round of students. And there's just a lot that I'm shifting in my business, and it's kind of full. And we have begun doing a Sunday gathering of the council with my partner of like, okay, any appreciations, gratitudes from the past week. Okay, what are the logistics? What are our busy days? What are our heavy days? And I'm sure you've already tried this for the person that I'm speaking to, but it's actually felt really supportive to say, hey, I'm actually have a full day on Monday. Like, can you actually take OC for this walk? I'll cover for this next day when you're busy, to plan our meals and to talk about any issues or struggles that we faced in that week prior, to air it out. So for me personally, I think it's really important, more again than ever, for this year, and especially in the next 3 to 6 months, as all of us are about to launch into this next level of our reality, business, projects, collaborations. Like, this is the time. The next 3 to 6 months is a lot of things are coming into fruition. So more than ever, it feels really important to ask for support, and to really, that is the edge, I think, for a lot of empaths, intuitives, caretakers, is okay, how do I get real with this? How do I either outsource this, pay somebody, or how do I look to my partner, my family, which can be really uncomfortable, because I think many people I work with were not met as a child. Maybe you reached out, maybe whatever, and it's like people are busy, and it's like, wow, my needs aren't priority. My needs can't be heard or met. Or someone to say, hey, baby, I hear that, but I'm actually not available today, but I will get, I can help you tomorrow. So I think this is a really important edge for people to lean on of, hey, would you be available to support me in this? Because I have this like big project I'm trying to like crank out, would you be available? And to build that vulnerability and the openness with partners or families or friends, for them to say, hey, yeah, I'm actually really available, or hey, I'm actually kind of busy and stressed myself, and say, okay. So I think communication and really flexing that question of, what are you available for? What are partners available for? I think is important. And I think more than ever, like, unions this year are going to deepen in ways that I don't think they have before. But I think it's going to really ask us to get more real with ourselves, to get really real with our partners. Because I do think there's also like, it can be more tenuous this year more than ever. So can you kind of preemptively set time aside Sunday or whenever to gather? And I think too, like in seasons that feel busy, how do you find tangible ways to like lean into rest and restoration? The thing with this is like the guides are really highlighting the word like creativity. Because I think sometimes when we're, like, so in the stress of it and to think about, like, "Oh, I'm so tired and I need a break," it's like it just feels like another thing to do to schedule in freaking yoga or a run or to cook. But it's like to ask that question of, like, what feels fun? Like, what feels fun? Like, what is that simple joy? Maybe I have a huge day of sessions. It's like, okay, I'm gonna stop for 30 minutes and make myself a matcha latte, and that is going to be my joy, and that's gonna be my rest. So I think that's that question of, like, what feels fun, what feels nourishing, what feels supportive. Any of those variations are going to help kind of guide you towards what is at rest because it's coming from a different vibration. It's not coming from the lack of, like, shit, I'm really tired, or like, oh, I gotta do this thing. I need to, like, ground and restore because that's what we're supposed to do. It's that feels like a harder vibration to come from versus, like, hey, what actually feels fun today? What feels supportive? Okay, let's start small. Maybe it's vacuuming. So I think it's actually more where's the question coming from that's going to lead you to a clear answer and question. And the last thing that they want to speak to at that is the speaking of small, especially for parents out there when things I think can be really crunch time. And we're talking about, like, what you wear on your body. Because I think there's actually something of, like, even if you're like, "Hey, babe, can you watch the kids for, like, 15? I'm gonna take a shower. I'm gonna bring in my, like, eucalyptus, like, smellies. I'm gonna feel freaking good." And then how can you actually take time to, like, put on some clothes that make you feel good? And I think that's a big thing that I see again and again right now is a lot of invitations for people to clear their clothes out, to really be like, "What feels supportive to me now? Where am I going? Where am I at?" And so actually, I think even though it's, like, so, like, 3D and material, there's actually a lot of importance, which is why this scarf wanted to come to me today for this, session. So I think that's another beautiful thing to not overlook, like, "What am I putting on my body?" And I think that can actually, like, kind of carry you through your day. So get creative with it, ask what feels fun, um, and you guys are all really creative, resourceful. So beautiful question. Gonna answer a couple more that I have here on the docket. Yeah. Someone else was asking about deciphering between the whispers of anxiety and the voices of intuition. Do you have suggestions on how to ground into intuition in times of anxiety? The thing with that, like, do you have suggestions on how to ground intuition in times of anxiety? When I see people who are anxious, that energy is up. It's up. I see their whole aura, everything kind of floating, and nothing is really grounded. And I think the thing that feels like the most tangible to just kind of help you ground, because what happens when you ground, you become more clear, which is going to make it easier to discern into intuition. And for me, when I see someone who's like anxious, 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 it's like, okay, I'm just going to just either we take a breath or can you just, like, sit down, like, go into a quiet room because maybe your senses are a little overloaded and stimulated. Can you just go sit into a room? You don't have to close your eyes yet because sometimes that can kind of compound anxiousness. But can you just begin to breathe? And even me personally, like, I like to rock because it still kind of gives me a little bit of movement if I'm feeling anxiousness. But even just sitting in a different room separate by yourself, maybe just do some gentle rocking. The body already, I can feel it begins to settle. Okay, and then you feel a little bit more settling. How do I begin to focus on my breath? Because if someone's who is in an anxious state and I'm like, focus on your breath, people then can sometimes like, oh shit, it's actually really shallow. And then it compounds the anxiousness. So just give your body space. Get into, like, rocking. That feels really actually cathartic for our nervous system. Rocking. It's like when we're babies, we're being rocked. So rocking can feel good. Allow your body just to little wiggles, little movements. Again, you're naturally kind of come down in anxiousness. And then you can meet your breath. And then it's like, okay, I'm not closing my eyes yet because that might feel out of reach, but it's like, okay, just taking some deeper exhales, focusing on the exhale. Again, there's so much freaking science about the vagus nerve exhaling, how that chills the nervous system out. So, okay, I can feel my body coming down a little bit more. Then there may be a natural nudge of like, now I can close my eyes. That feels good. And then the breath will naturally deepen. Your body knows what the fuck it needs to do. You just have to give her space or him space or them space. And to just like, okay. And then the body just kind of lands and arrives here. Maybe take a couple more deeper breaths and allow yourself to ground. And the thing that I'm hearing from the guides that can feel supportive once you kind of move to this place is creating a grounding cord. It's pretty like 101 for psychic energetic work, but it is truly also like one of the top tools that I go to even before this session. I was personally a little nervous because I'm like, wow, there's so much tech that my boyfriend set up, and I don't know what anything is. The first thing I did was do some deep exhales and then also creating a grounding cord to the core of the earth. And we can just do it really quickly. I'm sure many of you have done it before. If not, it doesn't matter. But just bringing awareness. You can even do it with your eyes open. Um, but I'm just right now kind of bringing awareness to the base of my tailbone. That's where our root chakra is. Our root is that place of safety, security, and well-being. And just kind of feeling that little tailbone that you probably don't tune into that much. Great. As your awareness is down there, I want you all to create a beautiful white light, almost like a fishing line. It's almost like your body is releasing out a small, thin line of light. Just becoming aware of it. Just breathing and then allowing this fishing line to just move through your home. Not forcing this baby, it knows where it needs to go. Just allowing your body to open up and relax. Allow this line to drop down, moving down, down, down through the layers of the earth below. And then we're coming to this place that I call either a higher energetic grid, or also it's like where the new world is coming into. So it just looks to me personally almost like this light grid that's a little bit below the surface. Your body knows where it is. Don't have to overcomplicate this, but just grounding into this higher frequency of the earth. And that can be your guiding point, guiding into the higher frequency of the earth. And as your fishing line sinks down, maybe just get a sense of this grid as I speak to it. It'll be easier for everyone to see it. And just allowing your fishing line to wrap around, kind of catch onto this grid. And your body may respond with a breath, and exhale and inhale. Wonderful. And then from this little fishing line, I want you to expand this in your mind. We're using imagination, clairvoyance, all of the above, to the width of your hips. Now you have a pillar of light. And we chose white today. You can choose any color that feels supportive to you any day. But today, where everyone's at, it feels really supportive to go higher, to have a really pure frequency. And then we're going to do one more stretch. So you're stretching it from the size of a pillar to your hips, and then just going to stretch it at least 6 feet all around you. So you have a bigger dance floor. And this is going to ground your whole aura. You can always stretch it further, 8 feet, 10 feet, 15, but keeping it to the minimum of 6 to just have a bit more buffer space. Beautiful. Just allowing yourself to sink into that. Just allowing the body to settle into it. And you can also set the intention to release any energy that is no longer in your highest good, to be vacuumed out of the grounding cord and to the earth. She is the number one alchemist. We're all like these micro alchemists, but she's like the boss. She's the boss babe here of alchemy. So just sending, allowing your aura to clear and to be grounded. I play with these grounding cords. I'm about to go to my partner's family's house, and always with family, it's little things. I'm probably going to be sitting there and maybe tuning in randomly while I'm eating. Okay, where's my grounding at? Am I connected? Okay, so it's something that I play with throughout the day, and your body just becomes more aware of it. We're building up a muscle. So the more you kind of practice this, the more your body knows what it needs to do, and it makes it a lot quicker, more effective, and you trust in it more so. So play with the grounding cord. I think that's going to help. I'm going to answer maybe one more question here. Check, check, check. Okay. Could you share some of your biggest lessons or memorable moments of your journey in psychic development and the evolution of your business? Thank you for sharing that. All right. Get into this so much I want to tap into. Mhm. I think, some of the most memorable moments was my actual awakening, the third eye rupture. It's interesting. throughout our consciousness psychic developments, we will receive activations going on. Like my psychicness is not the same that it was 3 weeks ago. I received activations going back to England. I could feel on the plane literally becoming more psychic and tapping in and seeing shit that I haven't seen before. Like these things just happen and they will continue to happen. They will continue to evolve. And it's something that it never gets old. And it's truly fascinating. I always speak to it almost like moving through a home. When you kind of first maybe awaken, you're in this first layer. And it's like, okay, maybe I'm seeing a little bit of light, maybe seeing a little bit of density. Okay, you're kind of building up your protection. You're building up your like library of like, I understand these frequencies. Okay, I can handle it. My body feels safe and good. Great. Then you ascend to this next layer. Wow, I'm seeing even brighter things of like, wow, I'm seeing even more intense things. And then you're kind of getting used to that frequency. And then your guides are like, okay, ready for the next level. So for me, it's like kind of this always continuing of seeing different things, experiencing different things psychically, and all that you are ready for, all that you have either the space to hold and to witness, to process, and whatnot. And I truly, believe we are all encoded to see, experience things maybe differently. Whether some people are here just to see the high frequency lights, maybe people are here to work more on the underworlds, or people who kind of move back and forth in between. We're all encoded to see things differently, and I fully trust in that. But really, I feel like some of the most memorable things is like when my third eye blew open, which some of you guys may have heard, but I was working at Esalen, a retreat center in Big Sur. I was farming at the time. I was like in my 6th year of farming and doing a bunch of workshops. I knew my farming era was coming to a close. I knew I wanted to shift into something I did not know what yet. So by me going to work at Esalen, I could both be of service through something new like farming, and I could also, on the weekends after my job, I could be partaking in workshops. So it's kind of like my own graduate school learning. And I hopped into a random balancing of the feminine masculine workshop weekend, but it was like the last part. And this guy was just doing like we were doing this like shamanic drumming, and we were just kind of journeying. And I was just getting visions of different things. But like as I came out of that, my physical forehead felt like it was just blown open. I've never experienced anything like that physically and like that viscerally since then. And for 3 days, it was like there was like everything was sparkly. Everything was so open. And my one psychic friend was like, oh my God, like you are so open. And it was kind of like a waterfall after that. And the preface to all that is many of you also know I have an eye disease. They call it uveitis. It's a rare disease. It can lead to blindness. I've had it for 12 years now, and I just see blurry things all the time. It's kind of become part of my regular vision to just have blurry vision. And when I was working at Esalen, I would partake in sweat lodges, and I'd always kind of have the prayer for my vision to heal, for my vision to heal, for my vision to heal. Of course, I was thinking of my physical eyes, but I did not make that specifics in my prayer. And it's funny with this culmination of both this shamanic drumming, doing all these sweat lodges, these prayers, whatever else was just right, just doing all this deep shadow work, clearing of forgiveness from my family, my parents, just so much happened in these 2 years of living at this retreat center. It was wildly intense. And then I partaked in a psychic meditation beginner class. We met 4 times. And it was in that time, after all of this, that I began to experience psychicness. And it first came to me through animals. I felt this like white tiger with me, kind of sitting with me. I just felt the impression. I didn't see all the damn details of it, but I could feel this thing. I could feel it so clearly. And then it had a message for me. And then that I could feel it riding, when I was riding my bike on Highway 1, I could feel it running alongside me. And then all of a sudden it said, okay, I'm done. And I was so sad because I was like, holy shit, I felt like I had a buddy. And then as soon as that left, an owl came in. And the owl came in with another message. And that owl was there for a day. And then the next day, another animal came. It was like this 1 to 3 week period of these different animals coming to me psychically with messages. And it was such this thing that was like, whoa. But I do want to speak to, like, it was overwhelming because I remember being in a shower and just trying to take my shower and just hearing all these voices. It was like the flooding of my psychicness. And it felt really overwhelming. And I had a moment of like, holy, am I going like crazy? Like, am I kind of losing it? And I went back to that psychic teacher. I was just speaking to my experience, and she kind of helped shift out some of these energies, these which I would now know as like entities and beings that were like, wow, this being is open, like let's communicate. It's like it's too much. And so she really helped me just kind of like buffer my space. Um, and that was right when COVID began. So kind of did my own self studies, continuing to work with what was coming to me naturally, and then committed to doing psychic work for 2 years with an academy. And it's intense. And I've been guiding people through 12-week programs, and it is intense. Like to wake up, to move through your psychic stuff is also to face a lot of the blocks, to face a lot of the things, family stuff, ancestral pain. Like it's just, it can be a lot, in ways. And then you can really come into liberation. So for me, that was pretty profound and some of the most visceral things. And now it's just like, just kind of part of the everyday of the things that I experience. It's just nothing ever surprises me in life anymore. And the last thing that I do want to speak to with this is about the evolution of my business, because I think this is a lot of things that people can relate to too. And um, I think for me to come out as a psychic was a lot. And again, it's something where I was like, okay, I trained as a massage therapist. I got a massage license. I knew people knew what massage was. I always knew though it wasn't going to be my thing, but it felt like a bridge. And so for me, when I studied massage at Esalen and Big Sur, and then ended up moving to Hawaii. I got licensed in Hawaii while I was also continuing to do psychic training. And then I launched my business in a way that was still big, but it was also comfortable because I had this buffer of, hey, I'm going to do massage and I'm going to do psychic reading. You can choose one or the other, or you can do both. And for me, it was comfortable because I'm like, okay, well, I know I can make money from massage. And as I'm still kind of building my confidence with holding a psychic field and being seen for this, I kind of have this buffer. So for me, I did that maybe 2 years, and just slowly over time began to shift and shift and shift and shift away from massage and lean more and more and more into my psychic work. And the two biggest, I think, leap points for my business to be where it's at today was, um, I think it was 2 years ago where I got the message of like, Hannah, you're done massaging. You're here to do psychic readings. And I got awoken to like, you're here to do energy attunements. And my guide spoke very specifically to attunements and that word. And so at that point, I wasn't actively offering attuning. Of course, I was always doing it, but I didn't realize that that's, not just part of, psychic work, whatever. So I got that message, you're done. I was like, okay, cute guides. We're going to like pace this out over 3 months. I'm going to pace it for 3 months, and then I'll quit my job because I would have saved up enough money and it's going to be good because I'll be safe. And then out of the blue, I got let go from my job like 2 weeks later. And it was so random, very unexpected in some ways, but it really forced my hand. I was like, okay, I can either wallow in this, I can either play small in this, or I can see what the hell the universe has just dished out for me, and it is time to level the F up. And it's funny, as soon as that happened, the level of opportunities that came for me to work at festivals, to work at retreats, to how many people I've met you through that, it's like the world opened up. But it was freaking scary because I was like, wow, this comfortable income I had is not there. And it is in those moments that feel so like, "Ugh," that actually I feel like every time I've done something that maybe is on an edge, raising my prices, offering a new thing, I feel like there's such a quick being met because the universe is like, yes, you are in alignment. So that was huge. And then 2 months later, from being let go from that job, I officially, on my website business, shut down all the massage and fully was like, okay, I'm doing psychic work, energy attunement. And I feel like everything just took off from there. So I really feel like, again, to honor your process, to take the steps that feel appropriate. Can you balance? Can I have enough comfort while being on my edge a little bit? And to really, everyone has their own way. And I think it's hard with so much social medias and different things. Like we see people who we probably really respect, admire. Wow, they're doing that thing. Wow, cool. Like I want to do that. But I really like honor like what are you naturally being called to do? And can you feel enough in your own presence and your own medicine that you bring to the world? Like host an origami workshop and talk about tarot on the side. Like, just start, just start, just start. And I think I feel very confident and I feel it from my guides. Like you will always be met. And to fully trust, like when you move from that heart, from you move from these places that maybe create a little bit of nervousness, but it's like this, yeah, this feels right. You will be met. And I just think more than ever, and this is my last little plug, I think more than ever, um, we're really here to be supported because I think everyone is really waking up to their mission and their purpose more than ever this year. So here's a little like, go do your things, go do your things. And as it's 11:11, it feels like a good time to wrap up. So thank you so much. There are some other amazing questions that I might do a live part two for, or do a recording for, because I couldn't get to everyone's questions. But thank you so much for being here, for your support through my work, through my own transitions and evolutions that I've wildly been on for the last few years, and to arrive here. And I will be posting more and more videos here on YouTube for the basic kind of like 101 spiritual breakdowns. Like, let's talk about things that are pertinent. How do you best support yourself? And to be teaching more about that intuition versus fear. That feels like a kind of a bigger kind of 3-part series that we will drop into, because I think it is probably one of the biggest crux points that everyone has. So thank you, thank you, thank you for everyone who is joining. I really don't fully understand how all this YouTube stuff works, but feel free to leave a comment because I think this will be posted. Otherwise, you can email me. Okay. Blessings to you all. Take a deep breath into your heart and just really, really appreciate all of you for showing up. All right.